Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of TinkChat.
Yeah.
You have me, Andy,
Eugene?
here today hosting another episode. It's been a while since our last update.
Well, at least since you joined.
Yeah, been busy working downstairs.
Yeah. So we've been busy. These face shields that we're building is in production. We're ramping up as we're going, just making sure that we're able to supply these to the healthcare workers, the essential workers that we want to get these face shields to.
Yeah.
And we thought that it would probably be important to just take a step back. For any of you guys watching the show, if you guys run businesses, if you guys have businesses, or whichever size and scale, to really be able to help guide, provide a bit of a guidance in how to navigate the world of today, which is significantly different than the world 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The set here is different.
Yeah.
We've had to
change our location, as Eugene mentioned downstairs. There is foam being processed, packing, laser cutters, 3D printing, all those sounds. So we had to migrate upstairs.
Yeah, and also the downstairs facility is now sanitized, so
completely sealed. Every time we go down, there'll be a mask, face shield, gloves. We've got to change shoes because our outside shoes, we don't want it to contaminate.
Yeah. Well, the whole process is to ensure that the product gets to the people in a clean state.
Yeah.
And that's us evaluating our business, right? That's us taking a look at all the stuff that we need to do to ensure that we navigate this properly. We don't get additional people sick.
Yeah.
And that whole entire process for us from 3 weeks ago till today has been a total game changer.
Yeah.
The process that we've taken is very design centric. It's very design driven. And I was having a conversation with one of our company board members the other day, and we were saying how the world is going to change post COVID-19. And
yeah, definitely, yeah.
And design is what is allowing the company to really navigate quickly around all the different things that are happening. And if we didn't have that, where would we be today? It's one of those questions that we really ask ourselves constantly, over and over again. What is the purpose? What are we doing here? And what became really evident over time is that the business world, all the businesses around the world are being impacted and affected by this change in how things are done. Companies are closing, social distancing is happening. Look at the restaurant world. That
completely changed.
Being put on a giant halt. The travel industry is just on pause. And the few organizations that have been deemed essential, whether it be grocery stores or banks or wherever, they're putting up plexiglass windows to protect their employees and to protect their customers coming in. But what else can be done? There's so much that businesses can do to navigate and to think slightly differently, to continue to provide a safe environment and a trusting environment for their customers to go to when they visit the establishment. And we can just simply look at, I think, the grocery store market. I'm gonna call it the grocery store vertical, maybe. Food, where people have to go shopping for food right now still, and they've already made huge changes. Right. Whether it be people lining up outside.
There's a social distancing 2 meters between people during lineups. Only a certain amount of people are allowed inside the grocery store at a certain amount of time.
Right.
Plexiglass, as you mentioned, especially during for pharmacies. There's a plexiglass in between so that you don't have direct contact with the pharmacist. Just small changes like that.
I think evolution in business is happening. Somebody inside those organizations making those calls through critically thinking about how it's going to impact their employees, how it's going to impact their
customer experience.
Yeah.
When they're in the store.
And I would argue that that's all design thinking. they're worrying about the experience of people.
Well, I agree with you because the whole premise of design thinking or the design thinking process is there's a problem and you're supposed to come up with a solution for it.
For people.
For people. And this is a problem and we're coming up with solutions. How do you want to make your customers feel safe, trust you? And it's just all these processes that come into mind.
Yeah. I mean, the plexiglass, and it's iterative.
Yeah.
And this whole entire process is iterative. Like, we do it here.
Yeah.
We retool, we retool,
yeah.
and we keep going. We go from making, these things out of full 3D printed bands to foam, now to injection molding and wherever we want to go. But businesses are shifting. We're putting processes as well for customer pickup and customer drop off. This world is totally different. And so at the grocery store level, the plexiglass is probably the first thing that they thought of. How do we put a barrier between people handling cash or merchandise to the customer that is going to be facing them? And then the number of people that can enter, or the hours of senior entering. They're thinking about it. They're iterating on this, and they're doing it really quickly because this thing is moving really, really quickly. And we're looking at, is there a portion beyond that? I mean, we looked at this face shield originally from the perspective of healthcare, but we realized that essential workers are just as important to preventing this virus transfer. And so our grocery stores looking to get the face shields for their shelving staff. So it provides them with a layer of protection, and it also makes sure that the produce and the shelving, the products going on the shelves are clean and sanitized. And all that translates into customer experience, customer trust. Would you go to would you go to a grocery store after this COVID scenario, even during, if you knew that, if there was 2 grocery store chains you can pick from, one had proper PPE equipped employees and one didn't, which one would you choose?
Probably go to the one that has proper PPE, equipped.
Trust.
Right? It's just, it gives me peace of mind. And I'm guessing that's what they're aiming for. Is to give your customers a peace of mind to feel safe when they're shopping at your establishment.
Well, also the other thing too is what happens when somebody comes down with a virus, COVID, a flu, whatever. And the establishment has to shut down for 3 days to do a full sanitization. Like the loss of revenue is huge when you think about it. Right. So decisions are being made really rapidly, really quickly, and this process needs to have people in the center of it. If we were just to make the decision of putting processes in place that hinder the ability for the customer or the people that work here to have a good experience, and I think we've missed what's important to us. And so people is at the center of everything, and design thinking isn't just at the center of making. It's also the business culture, the business approach, all that can be done through design thinking. A little different, but allows the decisions to be made really, really quickly. So I think that's happening, but that's just the grocery store side of the world, right? There are businesses like us that are staying open to make these devices for people. There are factory workers, logistics people that are being totally changed. And there's a big question of what's going to happen to the food industry, the restaurant industry, when it opens up, whenever it can be allowed to open back up, because are servers going to be wearing this? Is that the right thing to do? Like we don't know, but businesses and business owners and people in the businesses will need to think about
it
these really quickly. They, the world has changed, and it will probably be different until like a vaccine comes out. Right. And the question is, will it ever go back to normal? We don't 100% know.
Well, I would wish that I would go back to normal,
but I think it'll be kind of interesting to see, because, would it be okay for grocery stores to continue to have PPEs for their shelving employees?
It makes sense to have them.
Right? Like the produce department, as people are putting the produce out, gloves and PPE still keeps the produce very very clean. And it may actually be a good thing to have this be there after the scenario.
I just noticed we've been saying PPE for a very long time, but for those that actually don't know what PPE is, personal protective equipment.
Thank you for clarifying.
So just want to let you guys know that's what it means. I know I apologize for not specifying earlier, but
yeah, I think we find ourselves in a space where we're referring to it all the time as PPEs. These personal protective equipment. Whether it be gloves, face shields, masks. Anything that helps the person
protect yourself.
Add a layer of protection from you to wherever it is. My mask keeps falling off.
I think it just keeps slipping.
Yeah, maybe. So one thing that is important, and we came across a video that was shared with me with one of our company members, board members, is a video that was done for when Apple launched their Made by Apple book. And it was Johnny Ives, who is the chief, or was the chief design officer over at Apple. And at one point he talked about how design is inquisitive. How it's about asking a lot of questions. It's about listening to those little ideas that come up, right? And that the design part and the making part actually isn't separate. They're inseparable elements. Because in implementing a design, you're making something, whether it be the visor shield, not the visor shields, the polycarbonate or clear shield between cashiers, or you're implementing something. Whether it be curbside pickup and drop off procedures that we put in place, you're making that procedure happen. And so, this notion of being really inquisitive and executing on something quickly, that's what we need to be able to do. More often, quicker, and I think we're gonna start to see a world where, if this thing stays around for a little bit longer, more companies, more entities, more institutions are gonna have to start to change.
Think on their feet and start to change. Come up with solutions on how to adapt.
And I think it's one of those interesting moments. I don't think anyone could have predicted for this thing to
spread like fire.
And our business, 3D printing, manufacturing, education, we've totally shifted our gear to making face shields.
And definitely.
It does have an element of 3D printing, which I think we were in the right place at the right time to be able to leverage that. But that's happening at a really fast pace. I mean, we always say it changes by the hour here. And it does. Moments we're talking with the government, moments we're talking with our EPC, our Educational Production Consortium, and we're doing supply chain. We're doing just new things that we as a company would have never done.
Before this.
Right. And we continue to be agile. And we continue to put new processes in place. And we continue to have new discussions with healthcare. Essential workers, groceries, pharmacists, all these people that are getting impacted by this, and all we want to do is be able to provide this as a solution to allow them to have that extra layer of protection. So if it's impacting us in this way, and it's impacting grocery stores in this way, I can see how this is a process that should then be implemented by everyone. It's difficult to do, though.
Well, you have to come up with that design and process very quickly in your head and also execute it, which could tend to take time, depending on your grocery chain, how big your business is. But
I mean, one of the first things that come to mind is if you're a restaurant owner, what would you do? What could you do? And I know some restaurants making the adjustments to their business, and they're doing frozen takeout.
I didn't know
of them are
interesting.
So instead of you going into dine because they can't open, they are still able to prep food. There's people are eating at home, so delivery, takeout, frozen. That may be a way to go, right? Your favorite customers can still enjoy the food that they enjoy.
I read up another article was restaurants were releasing their recipes. so that you can have a taste of whatever restaurant at home.
Yeah.
But then obviously sometimes you notice that when you make things at home, it doesn't taste like the same things at the restaurant because you're minusing all the ambiance, the atmosphere. So,
Right. We're all gonna come out of this as gourmet chefs, which will be great because, that's the restaurant industry being very inquisitive about how do they serve the customer base that they're trying to serve. What was it that they went to the establishment in the first place? Yeah. If it was the food, if it was the service, I mean, we aren't in that industry. We don't know the problems that these guys will face, but they're taking the problem in stride as well. Yeah. Right. So
they're coming up with solutions to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, if there's any business owners out there, or even people who run large entities, small, big, medium size, whatever the scale, this process of being really inquisitive, asking a lot of questions, understanding the problem. I mean, this will help solve the pain points of what the customers are facing with. And some of you will have been deemed non-essential by government bodies and whatnot, but this will eventually go by, and this will still stick around. At least the stigma of interacting with people. I think we're gonna get to know a little bit of what social distancing is over time. Right?
Well, as you can see here, we do have a distance in between us.
Yeah, it's hard to make these videos without a distance, but we're trying what we can in getting these videos out to you guys. And being a thought leader in this space is really kind of interesting because it's not so much about the optimism in how you approach something. It's about actually figuring out all the negative stuff and then connecting the dots to say, we can provide this type of solution for this type of scenario. Yeah. And, that's not exactly design thinking, but design thinking allows you to ask questions, think about the negative kind of aspects, and then say, okay, well, we understand this, so can we do this? Yeah. And that little idea, that little spark can turn into something that is significantly larger.
Yeah, it's just that way of thinking. Yeah. It's a certain way of thinking that allows some people to exceed. Yeah. And some people or some company to adapt and change right away.
Yeah. It's not so much about, I think a lot of people look at what we're doing and say, oh, we've got 3D printing. Yeah. Thus, we were able to move really, really quickly. Yeah. The tool was the 3D printer, and the tool allows us to be very agile.
It helped us, to come up with design right away because rapid prototyping.
Yeah. But the process was actually what allowed us to make that pivot, make that jump, make the decision to, okay, this is something that we as a company want to do, and just to then put the efforts, put the resources, and run, because it made a lot of sense to us. So I encourage anyone out there to that wants to look at how they can whether you're a business or not. If you are, change your trajectory for your bottom line. And if you are an individual that wants to be able to practice this just to be socially responsible, this is the same approach as well. It's just this notion of, well, where can you help? What skills do you have? And then, can I tackle this problem that's happening? And can I tackle the problem that my business is facing? And then just go and see how you can iterate on something really quickly. You never know, you'll find something out there that will help.
Well, if we want to tie a bit back to education, you see education has been halted for quite a bit of time now, and you see them tackle it by having online classes, online. So essentially what they're doing, one teacher I was talking to is she's still having a 3D printing club going on. She's having a class come into a virtual classroom, and then trying to work from there. The only thing right now is not all the students have 3D printers at home. Right. But they did solve the problem of not being able to go to school, work together. They can still collaborate through online, the different technologies and everything. But there's still some obstacles that they have to solve before actually getting this whole thing smoothly.
Yeah, well, education is a big one. There's a lot of customers, students, parents, or teachers, and the old system probably will come back to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Right. And the question will then be, can we build some resiliency into our programs here where we actually maybe put some of these things online so that all the students start to get familiar with a online based learning program. What does learning look like when there isn't a adult who is in front of the classroom teaching? Can we instill more design-centric learning approaches where it's about instilling passion into the students, so they are now more inquisitive, and so the teachers are now guiding them towards their approach? All these things will be discussed.
It will be discussed. Something that we don't know could happen or not. It's just like one teacher I was talking to. They were like, robotics. How do I teach robotics when there's no equipment at home?
Right.
For the kids, like I can teach it in theory, but sometimes robotics is just more practical.
Something that requires a bit of hands-on.
Yeah. Like how would they get past that?
That's a good challenge. That's a good question. It's a big challenge.
Yeah, it's a pretty big challenge.
Do you ensure that all students have their own copy of whatever robotics platform that they're using? That really quickly adds up for the parents, the household income and stuff like that. And
but it could be the only way for now.
Yeah, the world as we know it is probably different.
Yeah,
compared to 2 weeks ago, and all these industries verticals are now starting to figure out how to keep things running, and it's an interesting problem as a designer to think about, right? You got all these different problems to solve. But the biggest problem is now that we are all socially distancing and all in, stay at home, or you're a parent and you also have to do your work from home, and now
also take care of your kids.
Take care of your kids
and also teach them. For some parents, they're trying to teach their own kids at home now.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change, and I think I really do think even this after this COVID-19 scenario comes and goes, we will see an element of education where it will be online.
Yeah,
I do think so.
Yeah, I think so. Perhaps they could adopt university. There's that web online platform which university students access. All the readings, all the assignments and stuff like that. Maybe high school, elementary school would adapt that.
Well, I think, as we know, as anyone else knows, if you're passionate about something, you put time behind it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. And I wouldn't say that BC is better set up to do this because of the 8 applied design skills and technology curriculum. But it was said to me one day, and I truly believe this, which is design and making shouldn't be a one-day event. It should just be the foundational framework that's behind learning in the first place.
Yeah.
And it should be there all the time, right? And so if we can get there, then all of a sudden we have a group of young adults that are going to come through that will then be able to tackle the next big COVID-19 or world problem that arises, whatever that may end up being.
Yeah. Well, I would definitely think so. As kids being brought up in BC, we only know BC, so we're gonna use BC as an example. But just like all the kids right now in elementary school, they're getting started on this in like grade 2, grade 3 already, right? So I'm sure when they're old enough to actually, I guess they're already doing it, so they can actually do it already. They already have that mindset in their head, so they can actually do it. But I mean, when they're incorporated into the workforce in the future, I'm sure if something like COVID-19 unfortunately hits again, I'm sure we'll actually see big differences than what we're having right now.
Yeah, this is a pretty big economic hit for a lot of people, and I do think if there were people better suited for it, that were inside businesses, more businesses would be able to pivot faster.
Yeah,
and it will probably still have an impact of some sort, but not to the scale that we're seeing today.
Yeah.
Right. So, I encourage anyone, and I do, to look into this way of approaching things, and it may or may not work for the business, and I think it will most likely probably will. I mean, I personally haven't seen a business where design thinking and incorporate it well is a hindrance to growth.
Yeah.
And so under normal circumstances, if done right, I just think it's the right way to go for most businesses, at least, right? So that was the topic today.
Yeah.
It sheds a bit of light on companies that are, number one, trying to make a difference, trying to retool and repurpose and readjust. And I mean, the whole world is having to repurpose, retool, and readjust right now.
Yeah.
And so it's not unique to us. It's everyone out there in every industry, in every vertical. So we thought we'd share some of that. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching our episode and the update that what we're doing and what the world is, what's happening in the world. If you want to, please subscribe on down there with the bell button and the subscribe button on YouTube. So if we release a new episode, you'll get a notification for it. Or if you're listening to Spotify or Anchor on the podcast, then please subscribe there instead.
Like I said in the last episode, Andy's the guy who does all this, so he's got that all nailed down.
Yes. So I think that's everything for today. And take care, everyone. Stay safe. Stay home.
And we'll see you guys
next
time.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.